A Mortal's Journey to Immortality Episode 150. The sect's #1 beauty is being forced to marry an ugly weaker man right in front of Han Li. Meanwhile, the once cold and aloof Silvermoon has suddenly turned into a complete chatterbox after becoming his artifact spirit. But that's not all. To win a treasure that grants the power to see through fog and stone, Han Li must enter the trial assembly. And to hide his true strength, he chooses a method no one saw coming. He's going to drown his opponents in money. Will this insane strategy actually lead him to victory? The beautiful Mu Peeling is being forced into marriage by an ugly man, and the cold, aloof Silvermoon has actually turned into a chatterbox. Han Li brought the white fox outside, where Kuei Huan, senior brother Wang, and the others saw them with delighted surprise. Han Li tossed the white fox to Kuei Huan, who then put it into the green cloud belt. Upon seeing this, Han Li looked at the belt and, realizing it was just a low-grade magic tool incapable of truly holding Silvermoon, was instantly relieved. As for how to split the reward, Han Li let them decide amongst themselves. After exchanging some pleasantries, he took his leave. Senior brother Wang's group of 4 flew directly towards a location in Cloud Dream Mountain. However, Silvermoon's escaping technique was brilliant. She quietly slipped away and met up with Han Li, and the group didn't even realize the white fox had escaped. Han Li then took Silvermoon to the sex marketplace to buy the necessary materials and items for artifact spirit refinement before returning to his cave residence to begin his preparations. Upon his return, Han Li found Kuei Huan and senior brother Wang waiting for him outside his cave. They had discovered the white fox's escape and felt they owed him an explanation, as he had contributed both money and effort. Han Li simply asked them to repay the money they had borrowed, forgoing his share of the reward. Naturally, Kuei Huan and the other man were very happy and immediately handed the spirit stones over to Han Li. Noticing that the magic tool Han Li had used before was quite miraculous, senior brother Wang asked if he would participate in the upcoming trial assembly. He explained that the trial assembly is a grand event for the 3 sects of Cloud Dream Mountain, held specifically for newly advanced disciples under the age of 30 and below the foundation establishment stage. It takes place before the flowing of the holy tree's pure essence and serves as the method for dividing it. The sect that overpowers the other 2 gets to take half of the pure essence, while the other 2 sects split the remaining half. Consequently, the 3 sects take every trial assembly very seriously. Those who perform great deeds are highly regarded by the sect elders, the top few finishers are gifted top-grade magic tools, and the champion receives an additional foundation establishment pill. Besides these rewards, the top 10 finishers in the assembly get the chance for a spirit water eye cleansing using a substance called Mingqing spirit water. This spirit water is made from the first drop of pure liquid from the holy tree, combined with other precious materials. If one uses this water to wipe their eyes, they can gain the wondrous ability to see through fog and stone. Han Li had read about Mingqing spirit water in many ancient texts and was surprised the 3 sects could actually concoct it. Since the trial assembly involved both the foundation establishment pill and the Mingqing spirit water, he would naturally participate. He also thought that perhaps he could even get close to the 3 sects' holy tree, the Spirit Eye Tree. After senior brother Wang's group chatted a bit longer, they took their leave. Once Han Li returned to his cave residence, he immediately began the process of creating the artifact spirit, feeling a little excited that his azure bamboo cloud parting sword was about to have won. Normally, the success rate for this process was pitifully small because beast souls would resist with all their might, causing failure. However, since Silvermoon was voluntarily becoming his artifact spirit, the chance of success was very high. Under Silvermoon's guidance, Han Li drew a strange magic array in a quiet room, placed the jade rui and the white fox into the formation, and then stepped out to wait while Silvermoon cast a spell to separate herself from the rui. Han Li went to an adjacent quiet room to prepare for the refinement. When he was ready, he went to check on her. He found the white fox soaking wet and looking exhausted, and the glow on the Rui scepter had also dimmed considerably, making it clear that her separation from the jade Rui had been a very painful process. Han Li carried the white fox to the other room, where Silvermoon smoothly became the artifact spirit of the azure bamboo cloud parting sword. 3 days later, the Peak Master of Tianquan Peak sent out a voice transmission talisman summoning all disciples. Han Li received the talisman and flew towards Tianquan Peak. Ever since Silvermoon became his artifact spirit, she seemed to know that Han Li wouldn't harm her. While she had been obedient and quiet when possessing the white fox, she became a non-stop talker once she was an artifact spirit hiding inside the flying sword. It seemed as if all the loneliness she had felt while trapped in the Jade Rui was being vented in those few days. This gave Han Li a headache, as he had once thought she was more gentle and refined than a noble lady, and he now wondered when she would ever quiet down. As they flew, Silver Moon asked Han Li, that Mingqing spirit water doesn't seem to have any effect on cultivators above the foundation establishment stage. Why do you still want to obtain it, Brother Han? Han Li calmly explained that he had read about Mingqing spirit water in an ancient text. He noted that for high-level cultivators, whose bodies are already tempered and whose eyes can already see through simple illusions and fog, a light wash with the spirit water would show no effect. Only by wiping one's eyes with it over a long period could one's eyes gain incredible divine abilities. Therefore, his plan was to use this opportunity to get close to the spirit eye tree and obtain a part of its spirit root. Then, he would find a way to acquire the recipes for both the Mingqing spirit water and the foundation establishment pill. Once he had those, he could make them himself, so all he needed to do was get into the top 10 of the assembly. Just then, Mu Peeling suddenly appeared, stopping beside Han Li. With unusual coldness, she asked, "Did you also receive the summons to go to Tianquan Peak?" "Yes, Senior Sister Mu," Han Li replied calmly. "I wonder if you know why the Peak Master is summoning all the disciples?" "I don't know," Mu Peeling said lightly, "but it should be related to the trial assembly." Then, noticing Han Li's flying speed was too slow, she flew directly with him towards Tianquan Peak. Han Li did not refuse, allowing her to carry him in flight. Mu Peeling continued, "The profound ice art I gave you, have you been cultivating it? Achieving initial mastery will allow you to use several powerful water attribute magic arts. If you successfully reach foundation establishment, it can even become your main cultivation method. Practicing it more will do you no harm." Hearing this, Han Li didn't say anything. Fortunately, she was just asking casually and didn't press him about his cultivation progress. Just as the two were about to reach Tianquan Peak, a green light blocked their path. After the light faded, it revealed a cultivator with sharp ears and sunken cheeks, the same cultivator Yen from before. This person said with a smile, "Junior Sister Mu, as your senior brother, I haven't seen you for a long time. I wonder what you have been busy with recently? I have sent you countless voice transmission talismans, why haven't you replied to a single one?" Seeing him, Mu Peeling's expression changed slightly and her face darkened. "Yen, I am returning to the mountain to assemble under the Peak Master's orders. Do you dare to obstruct me?" Cultivator Yen said with a sly smile, "Junior Sister Mu, you're being too serious. How would I dare to do such a thing? I just wanted to ask if you have received a letter from your esteemed father. The elders of our two families have already agreed to the marriage between us. Shouldn't we discuss the date?" His gaze greedily roamed over her curvaceous body and beautiful face without stopping. When he saw Han Li behind her, he was slightly startled, and a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. Mu Peeling seemed to sense his ill intentions, and a look of disgust flashed in her beautiful eyes. With a frosty face, she snapped, "What are you thinking? He is Junior Brother Han, whom my master instructed me to guide. He has nothing to do with the matter between us. As for the marriage agreed upon by the clan, I, a mere junior, will naturally not go against the wishes of the clan elders. However, when we will dual cultivate depends on you. I will only consider the matter of dual cultivation when your cultivation level is the same as mine. Otherwise, don't even think about touching a single finger of mine in this lifetime." She clearly despised the man and offered him no pleasantries at all. Hearing these words, Cultivator Yan's face flushed red and pale. Just as he was about to say something else, Mu Peeling circulated all her spiritual power, drove her magic tool, and shot past his head with Han Li in tow. Cultivator Yen was furious and was about to give chase, but after a moment's thought, he could only stop where he was, his face filled with unwillingness. After all, Mu Peeling was heading to Tianquan Peak under orders, and he didn't dare to obstruct her further. Han Li glanced back and saw the man's face contorted with an extremely hateful expression. Han Li's own expression became a bit strange. He was hesitant, but he asked, "Senior Sister Mu, you have a marriage contract with that man?" That cultivator Yen was only at the early foundation establishment stage and was ugly, while Mu Peeling was at the mid-foundation establishment stage and stunningly beautiful. It was a mystery why her family would have her dual cultivate with such a person. Han Li's original intention was not to get involved, but since he had witnessed the matter, he couldn't pretend that nothing had happened, so he braced himself and asked casually. The woman swept her icy gaze over him and said calmly, "It's best if you don't ask about my affairs, junior brother." Han Li wanted to participate in the trial assembly, but how could he make it into the top 10 without revealing his true strength? Han Li actually plans to use a rather unconventional method to compete for a spot in the assembly, one that involves throwing money at the problem. Will he succeed? Mu Peeling brought Han Li to the front of Tianquan Peak's heart cleansing hole, where a crowd of 500 to 600 qi refining disciples had already gathered. When she landed, the surrounding cultivators all greeted her respectfully. With a wave of her hand, she walked into the great hall alone, leaving Han Li behind. Having arrived with her, he naturally attracted the attention of the other cultivators, who began pointing and whispering. Using his divine sense, Han Li listened in and found they were all discussing his relationship with Mu Peeling, as she had never been seen traveling with a male cultivator before. Uncomfortable with the attention, Han Li quickly moved away from the hole's entrance and blended into the crowd. To his surprise, Du Dong approached him to start a conversation, greeting him with a broad smile. Han Li returned the greeting with exceptional politeness, and the two began chatting about their experiences since they last parted. According to Du Dong, Martial Uncle Zhong felt he had great talent for talisman crafting and had every intention of nurturing him. Han Li felt a pang of sympathy for Martial Uncle Zhong, who had taken a liking to this fellow with sinister motives and would likely be implicated by him in the future. Du Dong then mentioned that Mu Peeling was the #1 beauty of Tianquan Peak, and could even rank in the top 3 in the entire Drifting Cloud sect. He used this as an opportunity to ask Han Li if she had revealed anything about the purpose of the gathering. Of course, Han Li had no inside information. Instead, he asked Du Dong what news he had heard, a half-smile on his face as he gave the man a very meaningful look. Du Dong, who had been wearing a simple and honest smile, suddenly felt as if Han Li had seen right through him, and a chill ran down his spine. When Han Li looked away, the feeling vanished. No longer daring to stay, Du Dong forced a laugh, chatted idly for a few more moments, and then took his leave. Seeing him go, a flash of scorn crossed Han Li's face. He knew the man had a mysterious background and ulterior motives, and he didn't want too much contact with him to avoid getting involved. Soon after, the new Peak Master of Tianquan Peak instructed everyone to enter the heart cleansing hole. "We respectfully obey the Grand Master's command," Han Li and the others said, bowing before filing inside. The interior of the hole was extremely spacious, at least 300 to 400 zhong wide. Apart from dozens of tall round pillars inlaid with countless moonstones that emitted a faint soft glow, there were only 2 chairs in the center. On them sat a man in white robes with a scholarly face, and an elderly man in gray robes with messy hair and a somewhat fierce expression. In front of them stood a dozen Foundation Establishment cultivators. As the disciples entered, they saluted in unison, "Greetings, new Grandmaster and Grandmaster Lu." Grandmaster Lu was the Vice Peak Master of Tianquan Peak, at the early core formation stage. "That's enough," the new Peak Master said lightly. "You may rise." The disciples rose and formed 2 rows on either side. The new Peak Master continued, "I have gathered you all here this time for the trial assembly. This assembly will be held at the 100 Possibilities Pavilion. As per tradition, each of the 3 sects will send 30 disciples to compete. In the end, the top 10 will be heavily rewarded. Therefore, our Drifting Cloud sect will also hold an internal selection to decide the candidates for the competition. 6 of these spots will be assigned by the 6 Peak Masters. The remaining 24 spots must be earned by you yourselves, and the sect's elders will also provide guidance to these individuals. The intra-sect competition will be held in 1 month. Any disciple over the age of 30, or below the 10th layer of the Qi refining stage, is prohibited from participating. There are no other restrictions. Any disciple who meets the requirements and wishes to participate can step forward. I have some instructions for you. Grandmaster Lu and I have decided to give the spot under our purview to your martial Aunt Mu. She will not need to compete and will participate directly." A moment later, all the disciples who met the conditions had stayed behind, while everyone else had exited the Great Hall. The new Peak Master smiled slightly. "Very good," he said. "I am very pleased that everyone who meets the conditions has stayed behind. For this intra-sect selection, even if you are not selected, the experience of broadening your horizons and sparring with your fellow disciples will be of great benefit to your future cultivation. Next, your senior brother will explain the rules of the competition. Grandmaster Lu and I have other important matters, so we will leave now." After saying this, the new peak master and the other man left directly. The young man, surnamed Miao, then began to explain the competition rules. He stressed that in this competition among fellow disciples, any overly vicious techniques or magic tools that could kill in a single strike were strictly forbidden. The lightest punishment for violating this rule was expulsion from the sect, while the heaviest was having one's magic power crippled. A quarter of an hour later, Han Li and the others walked out of the hall, their expressions excited as they flew away. Han Li also flew back to his cave residence, contemplating his strategy. He needed to secure one of the 24 spots without revealing too much of his true strength. In that case, he could only rely on talismans and top-grade magic tools. His plan was to overwhelm his opponents by using a large number of low and mid-grade elementary talismans all at once. He also studied the flame manipulation art, a technique that, while looking very intimidating, was not very powerful and would serve as an effective deception. For the next month, Han Li focused on refining various talismans. During this time, his gold and silver devouring gold bugs also began to eat and lay eggs. A month later, numerous cultivators gathered at the main peak of the Drifting Clouds sect for the competition. In a large open area below the peak, 3 spell formations, each over 100 zhong wide, had been set up as arenas. These formations were covered by semicircular light barriers to block the aftershocks of the disciples' battles and prevent accidental injury to the spectators. 3 late Foundation establishment cultivators served as referees to prevent any fatalities. The selection competition was now in its 3rd day. In the first 2 days, many of the 400 to 500 participating disciples had already been defeated. Even with 3 arenas running simultaneously, it would take several days to complete a single round. Among the competitors were only 3 or 4 Foundation establishment cultivators, who only needed to defeat the winning Qi refining disciples in the final round to be selected. Han Li's opponent was Sun Tong from Fire Cloud Peak. A disciple from a large family who had joined the sect only a few years ago, he possessed the rare heavenly fire spiritual vein. He was handsome and upright, with a cultivation level around the 12th layer of Qi refining. When Sun Tong saw that Han Li looked plain and unremarkable, with a cultivation of only around the 10th layer, a flash of contempt appeared in his eyes, though he still gave Han Li a perfunctory salute. Han Li sneered inwardly and casually returned the salute. Seeing this, a hint of anger showed on Sun Tong's face. The referee at the side calmly said, "The match begins." Sun Tong immediately formed a hand seal, releasing a fire attribute barrier to protect himself. He then took out a red round bead and began silently chanting an incantation to activate the magic tool. Many gasps came from the crowd. "Look, junior brother Sun is worthy of his heavenly fire spiritual vein," one exclaimed. "He doesn't even need a talisman to instantly release a fire attribute barrier." Another added, "That's nothing. That bead in his hand seems to be the Sun family's famous fire wave bead. The kid opposite him is sure to lose now. The winner might be decided in the blink of an eye." Han Li's expression remained neutral, though a hint of mockery flashed in his heart. He unhurriedly reached into his robes and took out 30 to 40 talismans. Sun Tong paid him no mind, still concentrating on activating his magic tool, apparently having full confidence in his barrier. Han Li then directly launched all the talismans in his hand. 30 to 40 fist-sized fireballs shot towards Sun Tong. "Ah!" Numerous cries of surprise rang out from the crowd. Flames had already appeared on Sun Tong's fire wave bead, and he was just about to activate it. Overjoyed, he heard the gasps from the crowd and looked up just in time to see dozens of fireballs slam into his barrier. A series of rumbling explosions sounded, and a dazzling red light made it almost impossible for him to see. The barrier on his body only lasted for a few seconds before shattering. Seeing the countless scorching flames about to completely engulf him, Sun Tong cried out in alarm and was about to turn and flee. At this critical moment, the referee grabbed him by the scruff of his neck, lifted him up, and dodged the attack. Only then did the referee calmly announce, "Tianquan Peak's Han Li wins." Han Li did not expose his own strength, so why did he still attract the attention of high-level cultivators?